Blackbird Farm, June 14th, 2014. Mariposa Garcia Gonzalez. Somewhere wonderful, I hope. Querida abuela, I don't know if you read the letters I wrote to Great Uncle Jim or not, or if he told you what's been going on here, if you're in the same place. But I've been pretty busy lately. Sorry to write to him first, but it seemed like he wanted to know what was going on with his chicken. His letters are in the wooden box on my desk here, too, if you need to catch up on what's been happening. And today, well, I was really scared, but I think things are okay now. So if you're out there somewhere looking out for me, like you always said you always would, thank you. I hope that lady never comes back. I hope Mom and Dad aren't too mad. I know I have to tell them about Henrietta. Te quiero, Sofisita. P.S. I was talking to Gregory, our mailman, yesterday about how I write letters to you sometimes because I miss you. He said he misses his grandmothers too. He told me that some people send messages to their dead family by burning their letters, very carefully and not inside barns. He was very clear about that. Or putting them in a special place on a special day. He didn't know of any ways for the dead to send letters back. But when I asked if there could be ways he didn't know about, he said, "There are more things in heaven and earth, Sophie Brown, than are dreamt of in our philosophies." Mom laughed when I told her and said Gregory knows his Shakespeare. But I liked the way it sounded. Gregory has a deep voice, and he kind of boomed it out. Not yelling, but strong. It wasn't scary, but it still gave me goosebumps. P.P.S. I still wish you could write to me, though. Blackbird Farm, June 15th, 2014. Mr. James Brown, wherever you are now. Dear Great Uncle Jim, when I went out to the hen house this morning, the padlock was rattling and rattling, and Henrietta was squawking her head off. Good thing I get up early now. It was pretty obvious that Henrietta doesn't know how to open padlocks on her own, so I went and borrowed some of your tools from the barn. I sort of put the tip of the screwdriver where the loop went into the lock, and then hit the end of the screwdriver with the hammer. The screwdriver slipped, and I hit my thumb really hard, and the lock stayed locked. I did this more times than I'd like to tell you about. Maybe the lady had been watching too much TV and only thought she had a good plan. Meanwhile, Henrietta was still freaking out, and I couldn't blame her, because she probably didn't have any food or water left, and my parents were going to be mad if I wasn't at breakfast. My mom always says when things are really bad, stop and think your hardest, because most people don't think at all under those circumstances, and then they make things worse. So I tried. I walked all the way around the hen house before I noticed something important. Turns out, it's easier to unscrew door hinges than it is to break locks. It's quiet, and it goes fast, even if you have the wrong size screwdriver. You might have to unscrew the latch too and wiggle everything a lot, but you can probably make it work. Henrietta stuck her head out the door as soon as I got it off. She gave me a hard look, first with one eye and then with the other, and fluffed out her feathers. Then she hopped down on the ground, turned her back on me, and started scratching up the dirt. When she got busy with that, she stopped squawking and started making her little chortling noises again. I think she's fine now. I'll let you know what my parents say. Right now I have to go. I promised Dad I'd make him breakfast for Father's Day. All we have is oatmeal, but I'll make him a smiley face with brown sugar. He likes that. Someday maybe I can cook him some eggs for my own chickens. Love, Sophie. The next entry is one of those letters that are all like weird and messed up with a bunch of weird spelling and extra letters in them. Redwood Farm, XXXXXXXX. Sorry, broken. Dear Sophie, XXXX. Henrietta is a bantam white leg XX horn. You know why she is unusual. Yes, feed her layer crumble seed, etc. Gather eggs every day. And 7. Refrigerate for at least a week. No chicks. Do keep her safe. Look out for Jim's 6 other chickens, Ziz. Don't put normal chickens with her, and no roosters. Catch the black one too. Cochinixixix. Agnes. Please send with beginning poultry course, part 1. File cabinet, top drawer. Blackbird Farm, June 17th, 2014. Mariposa Garcia Gonzalez, Land of the Dead. Querida abuela, I'm really sorry you're dead, but I bet now you can believe in anything. And you're a good listener, too. And I don't think I need to worry Great Uncle Jim with all of this. This morning I got up early, earlier than anyone else, and I went to check on Henrietta. I dumped out her old water and got her some new water and gave her some of that layer crumble in the little plastic tub with a few sunflower seeds, because I know she loves them. I looked in the nest box, but there weren't any eggs in there. And no chicken poop either, thank goodness. Then I put my gloves on and got a trowel and kind of scraped the chicken poop off the floor of the hen house into a bucket and dumped it in the blackberry bushes. I don't think anything could hurt those bushes. It was smelly and gross, but no way I was going to make Henrietta sleep in there with it. I found some straw in a corner of the barn, all tied together with wire into a block, and I pulled some of it out and put it in the nest box on the floor of the hen house. My library book says you can just take out the part that the chickens poop on and replace that when you need it. I bet the first person to figure that out was really happy about it. Then, when I knew Henrietta was all set for the day and I'd tidied up the edge of the junk pile so she wouldn't trip over it, and found some dandelions in the different parts of the yard and picked them for her since she really likes them, and when I'd drawn one last picture of her, I left her there and went inside to talk to my parents about her. I really, really tried. But when my parents found out there was a small white chicken back by the old hen house, they insisted on calling the lady who'd come looking for her chickens to see if it was hers. I reminded them that she tried to break into the hen house. I told them this was probably Great Uncle Jim's chicken. I even took them out to meet Henrietta, crossing my fingers that her water jar wasn't empty or anything like that. But Mom wanted to know how I'd feel if I was searching for my chickens and someone else had them. I'd feel terrible. But Agnes told me not to give Henrietta away and not to tell anyone she's unusual. And I sure didn't want a thief to use Henrietta's powers for evil purposes. I had to find a way to keep her. But Mom talked about what the neighbors would think if they found out we'd had someone else's livestock and hadn't given it back right away. And I knew I'd lost. Because you know how Mom is about not being seen as one of those problem people. You guys must have had a hard time when you were young, Abuela, because even though Mom was born here and speaks perfect English, she says you have to be twice as honest and neighborly when everyone assumes you're an undocumented immigrant, and she wouldn't have me growing up with problems like that. What was it like really, Abuela? I know about ICE, and I know they can't take citizens like me and Mom away, so you won't scare me. Too bad I never asked you about it before. Mom says she won't tell me till I'm older. But we were talking about chickens, and about Mom making up her mind. The only luck I had was that the lady hadn't given my parents her phone number or email address or anything. So Mom decided that Dad and I should go into town to the library and look up the lady's number while she got some work done for once. Mom's been having a rough time with articles this week, what with all the interruptions. Dad and I were both quiet as we drove into town. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with Henrietta. Hide her, like Anne Frank? Maybe in the barn? But Anne Frank knew to stay quiet and hide, and she still got caught. I think Dad felt kind of guilty, because he gave my shoulder a hug when we went into the library and said, "Buck up, Soph. There'll be other chickens eventually." I didn't bother to answer. He didn't really understand. Miss O'Malley was the only one there. She spends a lot of time trying to help me find useful chicken books. When I first got my library card and wrote Blackbird Farm on the form, she didn't know I was Dad's daughter or Jim Brown's grandniece, and she asked me how long my family was working there. I think she still feels bad about that. Dad and I walked up to the librarian's desk. I handed Miss O'Malley my old library books. Miss O'Malley smiled hard at me. "How can I help you today, Sophie?" My throat didn't feel like I could get any words through it, so I didn't say anything. Dad smiled back. "It seems we need a phone number for Sue of Briar Farm, please. We found a little white chicken she's lost." Miss O'Malley raised her eyebrows. "Sue Grigson hasn't got any bantam whites and never has. Do you still want her phone number, or can I help you find the true owner?" I held my breath and crossed my fingers. Can't hurt, might help, especially with magic chickens. "She told us she had a mixed flock and some went missing." Dad frowned. Miss O'Malley snorted. Sue has never raised anything but Rhode Island Reds. I swear on my honor as the vice president of our American Poultry Association chapter. You may not be a chicken person, sir, but if it isn't big, dark reddish brown, then it isn't Sue Gregson's. It's a white hen, about this big. I held up my hands to show her how big Henrietta is. Way smaller than a standard Rhode Island Red, I hoped. She has yellow legs and a little red comb. Bantam White Leghorn from the sound of it, she nodded. The only one with the Bantam White Leghorns in the area was Jim Brown. Well, aside from Redwood Farm, she sighed. When I found out Jim had died, I went over to make sure his flock was cared for, but they were nowhere to be found. There'd been some storms that week, and I figured they'd scattered when the food ran out. She put her hands on her hips and looked at Dad. You inherited the farm and all its contents, right? Dad nodded slowly. Miss O'Malley smiled, a real smile. Then the chickens are your responsibility. Unless you're not able to care for a single chicken. No, of course we can, Dad said uncomfortably. We just wanted to make sure. Very good, then. The poultry show will be coming up in July. There'll be a benefit auction for any unwanted birds then, if you really can't keep her. But I know your daughter's been studying poultry, so you shouldn't have any trouble, Miss O'Malley said briskly. Dad didn't really have anything left to say then, not even when I checked out the rest of the books on chicken care, or when I told Miss O'Malley I was thinking about naming the chicken Henrietta, and she said that it sounded suitable. I checked out the Hoboken chicken emergency again, just to be sure. When we got back to our farm, Dad helped me cut the padlock off the door and screw the hinges back on so Henrietta could be safe in her house again. Then he helped me pull an old wooden chair out of a different junk pile and propped it up with a log so I could sit on it, even though the leg was kind of broken. He hung around for a while, but I'm better at waiting than he is, and we only found one chair. So, after listening to me read the first few chapters of the Hoboken chicken emergency to Henrietta to see what she thought, he went inside to explain it all to Mom. I noticed he didn't laugh at the funny parts, though. I'll see what she thinks at dinner, I guess. I'll cross my fingers again, under the table. Te quiero, Sophie. P.S. Once I know for sure I can keep her, I'm going to see if that black streak could really be another super chicken. P.P.S. Did you know that chickens look really funny when they run? Kind of like a Tyrannosaurus Rex combined with an airplane. If an airplane flapped its wings really hard and squawked. I love having a chicken. Blackbird Farm, June 17th, 2014. Agnes, Redwood Farm Supply, Gravenstein, California, 95472. Dear Agnes, I told my parents about Henrietta. There were some complications while they wanted to tell the lady who tried to steal her. She said she lost her chickens. But Mrs. O'Malley got Dad straightened out. Why didn't you tell me that lady only had Rhode Island Reds? Anyway, it was a good thing you sent me your chicken class, because when Dad told Mom and she pointed out I didn't know anything about chickens and she didn't have time to teach me, I told them I was already signed up for your free curriculum so I could study over the summer. Mom's very big on education. She looked surprised but impressed when I showed her your worksheet and my chicken books from the library. She looked them over carefully, and then she told Dad that it was true that if we were going to stay, I ought to learn something about farm life. Dad, who seems kind of depressed lately, he hasn't gotten a new job yet, and I think the farm's in worse shape than he expected. He said there's no way we'll have money for chicken feed or supplies this year. If we had any money left, I'd think we might be moving somewhere else soon. But don't worry, we don't have anywhere else to go. So I showed him my worksheet too, and told him about the chicken food in the metal garbage can in the barn, and said one small chicken probably doesn't eat much, but I would calculate it anyway, if he'd help me weigh the can. No reason to bring up the black streak chicken yet. I also pointed out that it's summer. There's nothing to do. I don't know anybody, and every kid I've ever met was already going to know this stuff, so I might as well learn something before I tried going to school here. I went up to my attic room then, since I couldn't get any more words out without crying, and read my library books for a while. Mom and Dad came up a little while later. They both gave me big hugs. They decided I could try keeping Henrietta as long as we have chicken food, but that we just don't have enough money for extra pets right now. But don't worry, I'll find a way to earn some money for more feed, so Henrietta and the other chicken can be safe. I'll try to catch it tomorrow. Sincerely, Sophie.